what happened on Sunday?
We didn't play very well, and it came down to execution. And I know you guys have heard that from the players, some from Sala, and that's what I'm telling you too. We didn't execute very well, which was just disappointing. Because I look at that as coaching. When guys aren't executing, you got to figure out what is going wrong. What are the players not hearing that is not allowing the execution? And so I challenge the coaches. I challenge myself. How can we make it easier? And sometimes people think easier, like you take out plays, you stop motion. No, how can you say it in a way that these guys can understand it better? Because you can't win in this league until you execute. It's such a precision league, and we're not doing that right now. So we got to get that fixed.
Zach is.
Robert was saying that Zach is progressing, but we just can't see it. There's things that you see. Can you speak to maybe some things without giving up any secrets or whatever?
Yeah, no, totally. He did a better job in a lot of facets of that game. He made better decisions. The execution standpoint for him came down to some fundamental things, and that's stuff that he recognizes because he's a fundamentally sound quarterback, and things got a little bit out of whack last week, in some facets of his game, in terms of the fundamentals. So he's very aware of it. I mean, again, that's stuff that how can I make it easier on him to blend everything together? Say, it's not that difficult in terms of we just stick to our fundamentals, we stick to our progressions, we get the ball out, and he'll get it done.
Now, Robert, just as a quick follow-on, now Robert was saying that he just needs to show the world, and I'm curious in your eyes, as him being one of your players, who you work with so closely, how psychologically, how important is it for him to see some results, rather than what he's seen the last couple
I think he's such a mentally tough kid. I think, again, it goes back to him just living in the moment, going play by play. Yeah, everyone wants to see results no matter what you're doing, because you're a competitor. Like you want to have the results, obviously Monday through Saturday, but then show the world on Sunday, I guess, if you will. But I don't think he's concerned about that. I think he's concerned about, obviously, just, again, I keep using the word, but that is the theme right now. Just executing him, the other 10, again, us as coaches finding ways to get these guys to understand a little bit better, make it a little bit easier, because again, it starts with me and the rest of the coaches. We're not getting it done.
Mike made a comment. The 13 rushes on Sunday. Why was that number so low, and how do you find more balance?
Just getting the right amount of plays. We're not moving the chains on third down right now. We've been all right in some short yardage situations, all right, but all right's not good enough. And so when you don't get those plays, it's just hard to get into the run game. It's hard to get into the play pass. We got ourselves a little bit behind. And when you get behind, especially against a Vic Fangio defense, all of a sudden they're just playing shell. They could care less about the keepers. They could care less about the play pass. They want you to dink and dunk and try to run the ball a little bit. Got away from the run too early. That's on me. I got to make sure that doesn't happen.
Van Roten after the game made a comment about Zach needing to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker to alleviate some of the hits that he's taking. I know there's statistics that back up that as well in terms of how long he's holding the ball. As an offensive coordinator, how can you get Zach to that point? How can you get him to stop taking some of the hits that maybe he doesn't need to take?
Yeah, just keep on showing him, first of all, within the pocket, where those little soft spots are in the pocket. I thought our line did a pretty good job of protecting last week. We're always going to want, the best, but they're continuing to improve. But again, just trying to show them how to maneuver in the pocket. It's a whole different game. This thing is going to be a huge process for him going through, learning how to work within an NFL pocket, getting the ball out, in a timely manner. Again, it comes up to me, obviously giving him plays where he can get the ball out, the receivers getting off the ball, getting open, the O-line doing their thing. It takes all 11, again, starting with me.
How much are you second-guessing some of the things you're doing when you're not seeing the team produce?
Like I said, I second-guess everything of myself, in terms of in a good way. I don't lose confidence. I don't panic or anything like that. I always am trying to, go through practice, our plan. Obviously, Sunday's the preseason, like I guys told you. I'm always looking at it. How can I be better? And, that'll never stop. And even when there's results, when my former boss and Kyle, the guy I've learned the most from, he was the same way. He could call a great game, but if there's 3-4 calls that he didn't like, that was the ones that bugged him. And because you're always trying to, call that perfect game. We know it's probably not going to happen, but you want to get as close to, because you want to get these guys in the position to be the most successful they can be.
Mike, on Sunday there wasn't much success at all, but the first two games you did have periods of success offensively. But not in the first. The first half seems to be a real struggle right now. 3 points in the first half through 3 games. Is there things you can do in practice or anything to just try to speed things up with the guys and make them have more of a sense of urgency?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question, Brian. That's something that you even go back to, like when you're playing in high school. Like you're not starting off well, so maybe we start right into team and don't do individual. You know, again, not panic. We just got to execute. Like we're just again across the board, we're not executing. Again, I put it back to coaching. Like we have to figure out a way for it just to be easier, so these guys can play at their absolute fastest. And right now, like I said, we're not getting it done.
When Zach goes under 3 seconds, he's pretty efficient.
Sure.
But second, you know, it gets a little bit longer. He has to hold the ball. Why does everything fall apart? Because he's throwing 7 interceptions in those instances. So why does everything fall apart once he has to hold
That's
the ball?
across the league. The longer you hold on to the ball, the worse it's going to get. And I don't know what the exact analytic numbers are for the other 32 quarterbacks that played, but the longer that you hold the ball, a lot of times good things are not going to happen at all. And that's what he's learning, you know, in terms of when, you know, what we call our quarterback pack, our fundamentals. It's plant throw here, one hitch here, second hitch, it has to get to the outlet. A lot of times you don't get to a second hitch. You heard Salah talk about it. Like they challenge the D-line, quarterback gets one hitch. And so sometimes the quarterback pack has to speed up a little bit, and you have to put the ball literally right on him. And he's, again, just going through that process, and it's me just showing him over and over and over, and Cav and Rob, you know, hey, we know what we said here, but this thing broke down. How can we avoid a bad play?
Mike,
to follow up with that
the
one.
numbers are alarming when you look at the offense, but like, you know, Kaz kind of mentioned the first half where it's 3 points in the first half from you guys, the 6.7 or 6.6 points per game you're averaging.
Right.
This is your first time calling plays at the NFL level. This is your first time as an offensive coordinator. Has any part of this been harder than you expected? Like, is there a reason for this?
Because I was sitting there in June thinking about the same things I'd be thinking about now. You know, you just got to go about your process, you know. I come into work every Monday, and I'm going to work my butt off for these guys and for this organization. And, you know, you just try to put these guys in the best situation to be successful. Right now we're not getting it done. I'm going to be harder on myself as anybody. There's nothing that my mom, dad, my wife, anyone can tell me that's going to make it any better or worse. I'm going to come in, and I'm solely focused on those guys and in the organization.
We were talking to Corey Davis yesterday, and he mentioned how he's seen, you know, different coverages than the way they covered him in Tennessee, you know, because he's a quote-unquote number one now. Can you elaborate on that? And is that one of the reasons why the last couple of games he hasn't been too productive?
Yeah, I think he probably gets maybe a little bit more attention. I can't elaborate on it because, you know, just thinking about the coverages they saw in Tennessee, I wasn't really focused on that when I would study him. But, you know, he had that first game, and he had the preseason rapport with Zach that obviously all defensive coordinators and teams, you know, read on. And then he had the first game with the 2 touchdowns. So naturally, when defensive coordinators are watching that tape and the DBs are watching that tape, he's going to draw just a little bit more attention.
Like when you watch the film, you mentioned it's first you said the execution. Usually when someone says it's the execution, that's more of the players. But then you said the coach, it was put on you and the coaches. So when you watch the film, what was the overriding issue? Was it the players weren't executing? Was it they weren't put in the right positions?
That's an awesome question because that goes back to like a core philosophy of mine. Like execution, yes, it takes the players, the coaches, everyone being on the same page to execute one specific play. And that's what I love about offensive ball. If one guy makes a mistake, it can cost the whole play. And I think that's the core, you know, value of coaching, getting these guys to all be in unison at one time. And when it's not happening, as the coordinator, I put it myself, but then I challenge the coaches. What are we saying? How are we not making this where these guys are understanding what we're asking from them? And then it goes to the players too, you know, in terms of just all being on the same page and everyone taking a good hard look in the mirror and saying, hey, how can I be 1 play better, 2 plays better? And when that happens, that's when the results show. I could care less about the results right now. I care about watching these guys execute, playing hard, which they are playing hard. And again, I believe firmly that it starts with coaching when guys aren't executing.
If the players weren't, do you think they weren't put in the right position on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, when you're not seeing the results. But again, there was times to make plays where just, like, again, I keep using it, but we weren't executing.
Andy?
You just talked about being hard on yourself, and I'm sure going 8 quarters without a score is not easy when you're on the sideline or away. So how do you manage that yourself, and how do you, I know you said Zach is mentally strong, but how do you make sure that Zach and the other guys don't get too down when you're going through that long of a slump.
You just keep being yourself every single day. When you get to the sideline, you challenge what you need to challenge. You coach what you need to coach. You show the urgency that you need to show to obviously get across that goal line and get the points and put ourselves in a position to win football games. But again, like I told the guys on Monday, there's absolutely, as long as I'm here, there's going to be zero panic. You got to show up and work your butt off. Every single person, coach, player, and when you do that and it all comes together, that's when the results will show.
Ralph, we obviously don't know who's practicing yet today, but based on the injury report, you're a little shorthanded at receiver this week. We've been talking here about Denzel Mims a lot. How close is he to being able to help you guys if he's actually activated this week?
Again, like I've said the last couple of weeks, he's getting better and better. We'll see what the situation that happens with the two guys that were out yesterday. But if he's up, we feel more confident that he's going to go out there and make plays.
Obviously, Zach Wilson's a pretty good athlete, so why haven't you guys moved the pocket more often and give him easier reads when we talk about the hedge? And how come you guys haven't run more play action? You only run 20% of the time play action. Yeah, no,
our core belief with run and tying the keepers and the play pass with it. Like I was saying earlier, when you get behind a little bit, the play action, it doesn't work as well. It really doesn't, And one of our sacks from last week where we had a miscue up front, that was play action. That was a vertical shot. That was probably going to end up being a check down, which is okay with play action. You want the guys to drop to be able to hit the check downs. Whatever the defense gives you, the quarterback has to make right, So absolutely, we'd love to run more play action. But we've, in the first game and then last game, kind of the game kind of got away from us a little bit. I still got to do a better job of obviously, putting these guys in a position where it's not going to be just a drop back roll the whole time, because I don't care who you are, it is extremely hard to function in on a week to week basis.
Is there we obviously can look at the points scored and things like that as the obvious numbers of like, oh, that's wrong, but when you look at the offense, when you look at some of the analytics that come across your desk, is there a specific one that you say that if we fix this or if we improve in this area, the rest falls into place aside from execution?
No, there's not one specific area of a stat or an analytic that you say if you. There's multiple layers to every game. Salah talks about, and not to get too deep, but the Sweet Six, the third down, the red zone, the explosive plays, like they all got to tie together. The number one, and I've said it before, the number one, factor in winning and losing football games is turnovers. And that was one thing I thought Zach did a much better job of, last week, obviously up until the last 5 minutes. And then it turned into a situation where you are going to be a little aggressive, and those things can happen. But there's not one, just statistic that we need to get better. Again, we just need to get better at a lot of things right now, and we need to do it now. And that's, again, what I challenge the coaches and the players to get done. And, so far, I like what the results have been for the last few days.
With Mims, I'm curious, you guys have said he needs to know the three positions. This isn't training camp anymore, so practices are structured towards winning the game that week. How does he do that in that sort of practice?
No, it's an awesome question, because you don't, it's like I think I was saying to you guys last week with Zach, where he wasn't used to not getting 80 plays in a day. You get the 35 and you get one shot at a play until Sunday again. And it's the same thing for all the guys. You're going to get one shot at it, and yet the starters are going to get, if that's the primary, they're going to get that rep. So you challenge them constantly. You have to learn through other people's reps, and then you're going to get some reps too. Even if you're on the practice squad, you're going to get reps with the ones, because of just how the practice is structured. So you just got to stay focused in the meeting, stay focused on the person that is taking that rep, and do everything you can, whether it be post practice or whatnot, to be on it. And that goes for anybody. That's not just receiver. That is literally anyone across the board. Because in this league, as you know, Brian, you're one play away.
Thank you, everyone.